look at the Middle East. All right.
Mm,
This Israel-Lebanon ceasefire, kind of a
yeah.
weird one. I feel like, first of all, when you have a ceasefire, it's supposed to be a great thing, right? And so, but you don't see them shaking hands and taking picture together. It was not even announced by Israel or Lebanon. It was announced by Biden, and I think Macron also announced it.
Mm,
There was no picture, no.
yeah.
I feel like very, very weird. And then both sides accused the other side of violating the agreement shortly after that. What
Mm.
is your take on the ceasefire?
Well, neither side has won, and neither side is happy by the ceasefire. I mean, both sides have fought each other to exhaustion, and both sides have compelling reasons to want a ceasefire at this time. But neither side has achieved its objective. I mean, Hezbollah said that they would continue to send missiles into northern Israel until there was a ceasefire in Gaza. They've agreed to stop doing that, and there is no ceasefire in Gaza.
Mm.
Netanyahu and his government said that they would establish a buffer zone in Israel, in southern Lebanon, drive Hezbollah beyond the Litani River, and destroy its entire organization and uproot Hezbollah. And none of those things have happened either. So
Mm.
neither side has achieved its objectives, but each side has reasons to end the war now, to at least end the fighting now. In Israel's case, it's because the army is exhausted. I've had, I mean, Alistair Crook we did a program with him,
Mm.
and of course he knows the region well. But he's been talking about this in the Hebrew press in Israel. They're full of this, that the soldiers are tired, that the losses have been much higher than was expected, that they failed to gain ground in southern Lebanon, that reservists were refusing to turn up, that there was a systematic problem of desertion, and the economy is under enormous strain. So Netanyahu had to call a stop, and apparently continuing with the war was putting at risk the stability of his own government, because more and more secular parties and people in Israel were saying, why are secular boys fighting in southern Lebanon, a war that is insisted upon by the religious part of the community, about 50% of the population, by the way, and the religious parties, when the boys of the religious part of the community don't serve in the army. So there were all these tensions building up on the Israeli side. On Hezbollah's side, obviously they've been badly battered by the fighting. But I'm going to suggest that there was probably another very compelling reason why they needed a ceasefire at this time. And that is that I think they got wind that something very, very big was about to happen in Syria, that there was going to be this big offensive by the jihadi, these Islamist fighters in Syria, who were taking advantage of the fact that Hezbollah fighters had been withdrawn from Syria and
Mm.
transferred to Lebanon. And they needed to stop the fighting in Lebanon in order to send back their people into Syria,
Mm.
because Syria is absolutely essential for preserving their supply lines. So I think both sides had to call a stop for different reasons, but neither is really happy with the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about Syria. So
Mm,
it's like all of a sudden the rebels, it seems like
mm,
they were quiet for a while, and then all of a sudden now they took Aleppo. But
mm,
I think later I think the Syria army took back some parts of Aleppo. I don't know
yeah,
exactly what's going on
yeah,
there, but it seems like Syria get into a civil war once again.
mm,
Um, Syria is the quintessential like a proxy war because the Syrian government is backed and
yeah,
supported by Iran, by Russia, and of course Hezbollah. And I think China also supports the Syrian government.
mm,
And then the rebels are supported by Israel, US, and Turkey, isn't it?
yeah,
So that's
exactly.
what's going on there.
It is. There is one major party or set of parties that were very actively involved in the Syrian civil war previously, but which have now switched sides. And those are the other Arab states, particularly the Gulf states. They had strongly supported the insurgency, the Islamists, the jihadi fighters who were fighting President Assad's government previously, but now they've all mended their fences with him. And they're no longer, they made it very clear over the last couple of days that they are not supporting these fighters who have launched this offensive now. So in the region, it is really Turkey and Israel that are supporting um, this this move in into Syria, and the Turks, I think, partly because that they know that they're isolated. If you
Mhm.
actually look at their statements, they're trying to some extent to cloak their involvement. They're saying that they're not actually directly involved. They're going out of their way to say this time that they're not seeking the overthrow of the Syrian government, that they want negotiations and a political solution, as they say. Nobody believes that they're not involved, by the way. I mean, everybody knows that they are actually not just involved, but running the whole thing. But everybody, for several countries for the moment, go along with the fiction because there are diplomatic moves underway between the Russians, the Iranians, and the Turks to try to bring this whole thing back under control. And there's going to be the foreign ministers of these countries are going to meet, I believe, in Qatar tomorrow to try and
Mhm.
find some way forward. And Putin and Erdogan spoke over the phone yesterday. So I mean, there's this pretense that Turkey is not involved, that everybody knows that it's really running the thing.
Well, I don't know. Turkey, can you really trust Turkey? I mean, Turkey changes so fast from one to another. It's always jumping between sides. I don't know. It's a country that I don't have a lot of trust. Erdogan.
I think that what you have said is a sentiment that is universally shared. No one trusts Turkey and no one trusts his president. He is compulsively treacherous. He is he says that he wants good relations with China. He supports the Uyghur separatists in Western China. He says that he respects the stability of the Central Asian countries. He supports Islamists in trying to overthrow the governments of those countries. He tells the Russians, I'm all with you. I want to maintain good relations with you. He supports Ukraine's bid to enter NATO. He plays this complicated, endlessly complicated game in Syria. He's compulsively treacherous. He is somebody whose word means nothing. Now, he's been able to leverage successfully Turkey's importance because Turkey is a strategically important place in the sense that maybe less so for China, but for
Mhm.
Russia,
Yeah.
Turkey is very important. I mean, Turkey's preventing, for example, NATO warships enter the Black Sea, and the Russians do not want NATO
Mhm.
warships in the Black Sea whilst there's a war going on in Ukraine. So the Russians do not want to break with Turkey. The Russians have strong economic and trading links with Turkey. Turkey helps them to circumvent the sanctions, all of these things. But nobody trusts Erdogan. Nobody likes him. It's a fact.
Yeah.
But everybody, the Russians at least, have to bite their tongue
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
pretend that, we can somehow work with him in order to basically keep the whole situation stable and to promote their own interests. It's pure realpolitik.
Yeah, I think part of it is so we talked about this many times in the past that the Turkey also have this empire ambition. It never
Yeah,
died. I
yeah,
think. I think
yeah,
they trying
yes,
to somehow take advantage of different opportunities to expand or somehow, if not territorially, but
yes,
influential. Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
It's a dangerous game, and
Hmm.
Erdogan plays it with I mean, real skill. And whatever you may think of him, I mean,
Hmm.
nobody likes him, but everybody understands that he's clever at playing
Hmm.
this game. But
Hmm.
he's over time, it's creating an impression of Turkey, exactly as you said, as an unreliable country that
Hmm.
nobody can really base policy upon what the Turkish government is going to do, because the Turkish government will never keep its word.
Yeah, I don't think it helps for him to behave like
No,
that, and at the same
no,
time can increase the influence of Turkey. If people don't trust you, you don't have influence, I think.
no, absolutely. I mean, a
Yeah,
better way of obtaining what Turkey wants in Syria, which is influence in Syria, which is a legitimate aspiration, and the return of Syrian refugees to Syria. The better way to do that would be to seek a genuine full rapprochement with the
yeah,
Syrians, not to play these complicated games of sending armed men across the Syrian border to seize Syria's second biggest city. That's ultimately completely counterproductive. But, Erdogan will never see things in that way, because he
mhm,
always thinks, as I said, that he can play these games, he can leverage his position, and enhance his power, and all that.